Yo, what is good, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be breaking down the Nhl Dfs slate for Monday, November 7th. We got ourselves just a 3-game slate here to kick off the week, where I'm going to go through a couple of my favorite line stacks, some of my favorite individual plays, and some of my favorite value plays, and of course we'll wrap up the video talking a little prize picks as well. With that being said, let's dive into my spreadsheet here. And we're going to kick things off here like we always do in the top left-hand corner with those highest implied game totals. We got 2 of these games coming in with an implied total of 6.5, and then just 1 game there between the Flames and Islanders coming in at 6 goals. And then take a look down here at the Vegas odds, where you can see the Bruins, Oilers, and Flames are all favored to win here tonight. With that being said, let's dive into a couple of my favorite line stacks here for tonight, starting with that first line for the Boston Bruins. We got Bergeron centering Marchand and DeBrusk. The Bruins catch a struggling St. Louis Blues team at home here tonight, so really I'm fine with playing any one of the top 3 lines for Boston. I just love the correlation you get between these 3, being that all 3 play up on the number 1 power play, especially considering how bad this Blues penalty kill has been here as of late. Over their past 4 games, they're hitting at just a 50% rate and allowing 5.75 goals per game, the most in the NHL during that stretch. And then a cheaper line stack I like here tonight is that first line for the Washington Capitals. We got Kuznetsov centering Ovechkin and Sherry. Now, obviously, Ovi a little more expensive there in the 8K range, but being that the other 2 here are in the 3K range, it allows you to do a lot with the rest of your lineup, and I do like the matchup at home for them tonight against the Edmonton Oilers, who can definitely score goals themselves, but haven't been afraid to give up goals either. That's always kind of been the case with them. You got guys like McDavid and Draisaitl. Yeah, they can find the back of the net pretty easily, but they don't have the best defensemen, and their goaltending have always been an issue. In just their past 5 games, they've allowed 4.20 goals per game, and their penalty kill has not been very good either, just hitting at a 71.5% rate. Now you're going to see Kuznetsov and Ovechkin play up on that number 1 power play. Sherry plays down on the second, and these guys should get on the power play a handful of times here tonight, as the Oilers are averaging 4.12 minor penalties per game so far this year. Now folks, before we dive into some of my favorite individual plays here, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. We're already 1 month into the hockey season, but still a long way to go, and I'm gonna have content coming out for you guys all year long. Alright, now hopping on down here to some of my favorite individual plays. We're gonna kick it off with the forwards, and we all know McDavid, we all know Draisaitl. Those 2 are just dominating in points this year. McDavid's got 12 goals, 13 assists, 25 points in 12 games. Draisaitl not far behind, 7 goals, 16 assists, 23 points in those same 12 games. But how do we get different on this Oilers team? Because the Oilers and Bruins, they are projecting to be popular here tonight. And look, I have no problem playing McDavid and Draisaitl. In fact, I'll absolutely have exposure to them tonight. But I like Hyman and Nugent-Hopkins here as well. Now, you can stack them up with McDavid. You can stack them up with that number 1 power play for the Oilers. But that's why I like these guys, right? Because both of these wingers here are playing on that first line with McDavid right now and getting time on the number 1 power play. And so again, it makes sense to correlate them with Connor McDavid playing on that first line and number 1 power play. But being that it is just a 3-game slate, we try to find ways to make our lineups unique, especially in tournaments. You know, maybe one way to do that is fade the McDavids and the Draisaitl's of the world and just play the guys who benefit from playing with them, like Nugent-Hopkins and Hyman. Maybe you stack them up with a Tyson Barrie. You're getting 3 guys on the number 1 power play who all play big minutes and very well could just benefit from being on the ice with Draisaitl and McDavid at the same time. So again, I'm not going to be completely fading those guys, but if you want to get contrarian, it kind of makes sense to do that while getting exposure from the 2 wingers who benefit the most from playing with them. Now, the next 2 guys I want to highlight together as well, Brock Nelson, Anders Lee, 2 Minnesota boys playing together. Love to see that. In fact, fun little fact, I actually played in the same era as them when I was going through Minnesota high school hockey. They were slightly better than I was, obviously, still playing in the NHL today, but pretty cool to see these guys playing together. Brock Nelson coming from Warroad, Minnesota. Anders Lee coming from Edina. Don't need to go off on a tangent, but Anders Lee was just an incredible athlete. Could have played Division I football as well as a quarterback. And these 2 are tearing it up together so far to start the year. Through 12 12 games, Brock Nelson has 5 goals, 8 assists, 13 points. Anders Lee, 6 goals, 6 assists, 12 points in those same 12 games. Both those guys playing on the second line together, playing big minutes together, 5-on-5, and both play up on that number 1 power play. Now, I know this Calgary Flames team looks really good on paper, and they'll probably figure it out here sooner than later, but they have not been a very good hockey team to start the year. In just their past 4 games, they're 0-3-1, where they've allowed 4 goals per game, and their penalty kill has hit at just a 76.5% rate. So I do like the matchup here until Calgary starts to figure it out, especially considering how well these two have played together to start the season. And then I got Taylor Hall there of the Boston Bruins, who's too cheap in my opinion here at $4,000. You could easily price this guy in the low 5K range, especially considering who he's playing with on that second line with David Krejci and David Pastrnak. Those guys seem to have a lot of chemistry to start the season. Again, in a great matchup at home tonight against the St. Louis Blues, who have been just abysmal here as of late. And Taylor Hall has been good this year. He's not putting up Pastrnak type numbers, but he's still getting on the score sheet quite frequently. 5 goals, 4 assists, 9 points in 12 games. He's actually second on the team in goals this year behind Pastrnak, 4th on the team in expected goals, and 4th on the team in points. He's going to play big minutes 5-on-5 with Pasta and Krejci and play on that number 2 power play as well. Now, moving over here to the defensemen, and there's not a lot to love about the top tier defensemen on this 3-game slate. So spending up, I actually think, could be one way to make your lineups unique. And one guy I would definitely spend up for tonight is Hampus Lindholm of the Boston Bruins. And I've talked about how good this matchup is for the Bruins at home tonight against the St. Louis Blues, who are allowing a lot of goals as of late, have struggled on the penalty kill. And Hampus Lindholm is logging big minutes for the Bruins right now, playing about 22, 23 plus minutes per night. Plays up on that number 1 power play. You could stack him up with Bergeron, Marchand, DeBrusk, mix in a Pastrnak, or just target that number 1 power play in general, considering it is just a 3-game slate. But Lindholm has been solid this year, and even though he's priced here at $5,700, I have no issue spending up for that. 4 goals, 9 assists now, 13 points in 12 games, averaging around 11.5 DraftKings points per game, but he's shown upside of 30-plus DraftKings points already this year. Now, this next guy here is definitely more of a contrarian play. Ryan Pulock of the New York Islanders. He's a guy who might only get you 2-3 DraftKings points tonight, but has 15, 20-plus DraftKings point upside. So being that it is just a 3-game slate, I wanted to give you one of those players. So Pulock here should play about 21, 22-plus minutes here tonight, does get time on that number 2 power play, and plays on the penalty kill as well. Now, he can rack up DraftKings points in a number of ways, but doesn't necessarily do that on a consistent basis. Now, he does have 4 points in 10 games, so he's certainly capable of getting on the score sheet, but like I said, not all that consistent. He doesn't shoot the puck all that much, just averaging around 1 shot on net per game, but he does have a cannon of a shot, and he's not afraid to block shots either, although he's averaging around 1 per game himself there. He definitely has 3-4 plus block shot upside, getting you that 3-point DraftKings bonus. So like I said, it could be 2-3 DraftKings points tonight, but he does have 15 plus DraftKings point upside, so being that it is just a 3-game slate, I'm not afraid to go with a contrarian defenseman play like that. Now, I talked about him twice last week. Noah Hanifin, I said it's not going to be much longer before he starts to creep up in price again. He just got off to a little bit to a slow start to start the season. However, in his last 2 games here now, he's hit 11.4 and 22.4 DraftKings points, but we're still getting him at a pretty damn good price here, $3,900. He's logging about 23 plus minutes per night, getting time on that number 2 power play, and getting time on the penalty kill as well, where he's actually blocked 3+ shots here in each of his last 2 games, again getting you that 3-point DraftKings bonus. And then I got Erik Gustafsson there of the Washington Capitals, who's currently playing up on the number 1 power play in the absence of John Carlson, who's currently on the IR. However, Carlson did skate at practice on Saturday, and he is eligible to return tonight, so keep an eye on that. I honestly don't think he will play, but I haven't seen an official word, so I'm not 100% sure. If he doesn't end up playing, Gustafsson will be back up on that number 1 power play. And usually when Gustafsson plays on the number 1 power play, he only logs around 14-15 minutes per night. So I looked at this and go, it's probably the same situation here. Actually not the case. He's logged 18 plus minutes here in 4 straight games, so at $2,600, I think he's a really solid value play. You can stack him up with Ovechkin and Kuznetsov on that #1 power play. Again, especially considering that Oilers penalty kill hasn't been great here to start the season. And then I got a couple of goaltenders here, a higher priced and mid-priced option. I usually just highlight one goaltender on these 3-game slates, but I do like the way that Ullmark is playing this year, and I love the value we get here with Sorokin. Ullmark actually had his first loss in just his last game, but he has been a rock at home this year, where he's 4-0-0 with a goals allowed average of 1.92 and a save percentage of .938, averaging around 21 DraftKings points per game. Again, catching a slumping Blues team at home here tonight. And then Sorokin is just too cheap in my opinion at $7,600, considering how well he's played this year. You can see there he's got a goals allowed average of 2.12, save percentage of .933, and 7.2 goals save above expected. That's the 4th best in the NHL. And as always, going to wrap up this spreadsheet here with 3 low-priced options or sub-4K forward plays. First guy I got there is Charlie Coyle of the Boston Bruins, and I actually want to highlight Pavel Zacha here at the same time. Both those guys playing on the 3rd line together and playing on the #2 power play. So you get a little correlation, a little mini stack here at a really cheap price, and they're logging around 16 to 18 minutes per game as well, so no lack of ice time. And I've already talked about how much I love the matchup at home against the St. Louis Blues. Now, Coyle here actually has 4 goals in his past 5 games. I love the way that he's playing, and Zacha has fit in nice on his new team, has 2 goals, 5 assists, 7 points through 12 games. So I like that little mini stack there. And I also like Kyle Palmieri of the New York Islanders. He's playing down on the 3rd line right now, but playing up on that #1 power play. Again, we need to find ways to make our lineups unique on this 3-game slate. You could run out a stack of Brock Nelson and Anders Lee, mix in someone like Kyle Palmieri, hoping they get on the power play a handful of times here tonight. But Palmieri, he is more of a boom-bust type of player, but someone who also has 20-plus DraftKings point upside. And then to wrap up this video here, we're going to talk a little prize picks. They don't have the full set of props out now as I record this morning, and that's usually how this goes. But there are a few that are at least sticking out to me. First is Pasta over 4.5 shots on net. I know that's a big number, but there's very few guys who like to shoot the puck like Pastrnak does. Brock Nelson over 2.5. He's been playing very well here as of late. And Noah Hannafin, talked about him on the spreadsheet too. Playing some good hockey here in his past 2 games, and he's not afraid to fire the puck. But like I always do, let me do my research. I'll go through each one of these picks, especially once the goalie picks come out, and then I'll let you know my favorites in a comment below on this video, and I'll be sure to pin that comment as well. Now, for those of you who have not signed up for Prize Picks yet, but want to get in on this action, I got a promo code that you should definitely be taking advantage of. When you sign up, use my promo code GRIFF. GRIFF, and Prize Picks will give you all the way up to a $100 match deposit. And the nice thing about Prize Picks is they match that deposit right away. You don't have to earn it back as a bonus like some of these other DFS sites. Not here. You put $100 in today, you'll see a $100 match deposit right off the bat, and you don't have to put $100 in either. You want to put in 50, they'll match 50. You want to put in 20, they'll match that $20. Again, they'll match anything up to $100. Again, as long as you're using my promo code GRIFF, GRIFF, upon signing up. Alright everyone, that is going to wrap up this video here for today. As always, thank y'all for taking the time out of your day to watch the content here on this channel. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Let's kick off the week here on a good note, folks. Let's win some money on this 3-game slate. In the meantime, I'm out of here.